one should realize the emptiness of things. It doesn't mean that you see the things and deny them as existing and try to understand they are empty. But realizing emptiness means that you realize things never existed. In one case, you come from existence, from yourself as body, as human being, and as things around you. You come to understand that it is empty, that it has no content, that it is just not supported by other forms, but that it is only that it is without anything else, and so in that way it doesn't exist, because all that exists is depending on other existence. For instance, you can only see the wind moving through the trees when the background is silent. You can only see something when the background is dark or light. So all things depend on each other. That means, in fact, they are not for themselves existing, and that means they are empty. That is the first realization, that you see emptiness of things, that they don't stand for themselves. But the reality of realizing emptiness is to see that they never existed. And here you go deeper in the mind that is making forms from nothingness. It is just imagination. So they are not denied, but they are not formed. They were never there. That's the real emptiness. Nothing exists. In the first case, you exist and you start to see the things depending on each other. So there is no independent form. It's empty of itself. It has nothing from itself. It depends and it leans on the things around. But because you cannot feel the warmth if there's not also cold, or you cannot see colors when there's not also black, and things like that. One depends on the other, so it forms one totality of beingness. But then still there is forms, and you see through the forms the nothingness, the not being, as not being separated and not being existing by itself. But in fact, it doesn't even exist when it would be alone, because it is just an imagination of mind. It is made up. It have never existed. You never existed. You were never born, and you never came out of nothingness into beingness. It's only an imagined dream. And that is the reality, the realization of emptiness. But what is it that realizes that if there is no form? Well, it is that where the mind arose from, that entered in the mind and made all these forms, but then it retired from the mind into the source where the mind came from, and there is totally nothingness, and that is the realization. It is not realized by the mind, because the mind makes up what is not there, but it is realized by that where the mind came from. So nothingness realizes nothingness. That's the realization of emptiness. That is the true being. Being no thing. That's peace all over. And the mind that makes all this up makes forms of no, but not material. It makes it up from mind stuff. It is mind stuff that concentrates, forms in a certain way that it becomes something, but it is not existing. It drops away when the mind doesn't make it. If you have your attention on a certain object, all other objects are not existing. So it is not that form that exists, but it is the mind that makes it appear for a moment. It's very simple. When you go on a holiday to Italy, you cannot be at the same time in Australia. So that's simple. Your form goes to Italy and your form is not in Australia. Something deeper, you are in, well, let's say you are in Italy and your house, your place where you live is Australia. So when you are in Italy, you fall asleep and you dream of Australia. So where are you? Your body is in Italy and your mind is in Australia. It is if you look into this phenomena, it is you come to the conclusion that all things are only in your mind. And the mind is making up things, and if you go with the mind in the things, you see forms, but they depend on each other. They are not existing by itself. And if you retire from the mind to the point where it arises, where does the mind arise? It is not formed. Where the mind comes from, there is no form. So how can the mind have a form? Something which has no form cannot make form. Wow. So that's the realization of emptiness. It never had form. Makes you so happy to know what you are. It never had form. You were never there. You were not there. It's not denying. It is seeing that there is nothingness. It is not, I see myself, but I deny my life and I deny things. No, that's mind. But with the mind coming back to the source of the mind, you see that the mind itself rises up as energy, and in that energy there are atoms and dots and movements, and all that is concentrated together as a form, and we believe that forms. The mind believes the own made up forms. Well, Nothing ever existed. Keep that in mind. That's the source of the mind, where all started, so-called started, because it never started, it never began, it was never there. That's freedom all over. Happy, happy. And this night I woke up and Baba came to tell me the cosmos doesn't exist. It is God's dream. We are all sucked into the dream like a hurricane. And we must fight to come out. And fight means don't act, because actions keep you in the dream. And not acting is really a fight, because the ego, what is in the dream, does all it can to keep you in the dream. So don't listen to the ego, don't do, don't act, and you are not in the dream. By not doing, you are out. Then you got it, this dream. I got your dream. You try to keep me in your claws. I will not answer that. I will stay home, awake. Yes. All actions take place in the dream because you are in the dream. And the actions are done by this person. But if you are aware, really aware, deep inside, this all is the dream, it doesn't exist. Then of course it doesn't matter what you do, because you know it is not there. It is not happening. So it doesn't matter, but it is all a question of consciousness, being aware. Awareness inside knows this doesn't exist. Only the empty awareness exists. Then let the dream go on. Play with it or see it, enjoy it, realize it. Nothing to do but realizing it, being aware. That is not by fighting it, but by constantly remember this is a dream. It doesn't exist. It is not really happening. It seems so. I experience it, but it is not a real experience. It is only imagination of the dream. All that is happening in the dream of my own imagination. It doesn't exist. I don't exist. Only awareness that I am. That is reality. I am awareness. And it can be filled with dream stories, or it can stay empty. But it is that I know I am aware of awareness. So the cosmos doesn't exist. This whole dream of existence takes place in yourself, in consciousness of you. Without consciousness, nothing can be happening. Nothing can take place if there is no consciousness. So therefore, this whole universe takes place in your consciousness, not outside. There is nothing outside of your consciousness. Every single thing has taken place in the consciousness. All those names and forms, all those things that appear, it is only consciousness. All forms are consciousness. This whole universe with what is happening, it is only in your consciousness. It is all your own manifestation. Even the good and the bad things, all your own manifestation in the dream of this awareness of consciousness, the dream of this universe. Consciousness is full of movements and happenings, and awareness is empty of happenings. So as long as you are in this form, you are in movement and you are in the happenings. They are in you. All what happens takes place in your consciousness. And when you see that, it will diminish, and then there is only awareness. First, the awareness of the consciousness full of your manifestations and thoughts and happenings in yourself, and then awareness of an empty awareness. So first you are in this world. You think the world is real and you are in it. Then you are understanding that this whole world takes only place in you, in your consciousness. No consciousness and nothing can happen. So it is always inside. Then you see that the consciousness that is in you is full of your own manifestations, your own doings, your own thoughts. And then you are aware of that consciousness with that filled up happenings. And then you are aware of awareness, which is empty. Full, empty, both inside you. That's all. If you stare for some time at a white wall, empty, then there will appear forms. It's your own consciousness that manifests it. Like the sky, the blue sky with clouds. You stare at the clouds and you can see forms in it. Or you can see a rabbit. Well, there's of course no rabbit there in the sky. It is your own consciousness. You manifest it, but you are ignorant of the fact that you manifest things. So it appears that all is outside of you, but it is only your own consciousness. Everything visible is in your consciousness. Without consciousness, there is nothing visible. And that's the real state, the awareness of awareness. There is nothing formed. That's the state of bliss. No forms, no distraction, no appearance of you or world. Nothing in it, nothing in you. Nothing in your consciousness means bliss, Satchit Ananda. You don't manifest things, not more anymore. It will appear when you are not alert, and then you are stuck to what appears. So you are stuck to your own manifestation of your consciousness. Why do we want to be free? We make up all the things ourselves and then we complain and want to be free. The only thing possible to be free is to be aware that you make it yourself, your consciousness manifest it by your ignorance. You don't know that it happens. You are too much involved in what is happening and not of what the consciousness makes up. So there is the solution of the problem. Be aware that it happens all the time. Only in a deep sleep state it doesn't happen, and that's the bliss of your being. There all is empty, and that's the bliss, emptiness. All that appears is not independent from you. That means it cannot exist without you. It is you that makes up all appearances. It cannot exist apart from you. That means it does not exist, because you are empty before the appearance starts. And the appearance is depending on you. If you are empty, there is no appearance. It's just consciousness. It is inside. You are free of all that. It is not existing. It is just consciousness. It's not there. The rabbit in the sky is not there. You are free of all that. If you look at empty things, that's the best way to discover your own empty consciousness. If you look around, there's always something that is taking your attention. And then consciousness is filled with the object and the thoughts about the object. You don't even notice it. You are gone in that what peeps up, and it is by your own self that it appears, by not being aware. It is ignorance, and that ignorance will bring you to a next birth, to another form, body, mind, circumstances, family. Whatever happens, all is then in the consciousness of that form that you will have. You will never know what happens, and it's by unawareness. So if you really want to be happy and peaceful, start looking at something that does not take your attention, like a white wall, or a soft music that is not loud and it is not like wow with different tones, or it is smooth and soft, then your attention will not go out. Your consciousness will not form itself to that what it makes up itself, because all is taking place in your consciousness. Without that, nothing can take place, but the consciousness takes over from your peaceful being. You do it yourself without knowing. You are not aware what is happening. See people hurrying on the streets, hurry, hurry, go there, and then exhausted afterwards. They are not aware of what they are doing themselves. So don't look at for a moment, a while, to be peaceful and to make it penetrate. Don't watch the news with all the wars and things going on, because you will have an opinion about it. It starts to be feelings, and you are the peace and the silence if inside is gone. So first practice to be silent. That means not being taken away into appearances. Appearances take over. And if you want to be peaceful, look at peaceful things or silent things or soft music, and no images, as less images possible. Don't make images and lose yourself in it. Look at the sky or something that is soft and smooth, soft, and then you can see what you really are. You are that white space with nothing in it, and you don't make up forms anymore. There is no rabbit in the sky. It's just sky itself that is visible in a cloud, which will dissolve in the sky. So it's only that which appears is your consciousness itself, which will dissolve in your consciousness till it is empty. So stay as far away from busy things as possible, to not be taken in your consciousness and the forms that it makes up, because it's all made up, it's not real. And these unreal things take your peace away. Stupid, huh? Unreality takes your peace away if you are not alert. You are peaceful, of course, if you don't make up things that disturb you. But you must be aware, alert, be happy. Every single thing needs consciousness to be able to exist. Without consciousness, it cannot appear, it cannot arise, it cannot exist. It means that everything is only consciousness. It is on the screen of your consciousness that everything appears. Without that screen, nothing appears. You are free of all what appears, because there is only consciousness. Consciousness remains empty if it is not filled up with manifested forms with meaning, opinion, names, forms, appearances. It's all depending on the existence of consciousness. Consciousness is empty by itself. Do you feel that that is you, the real you? You are empty of all the forms that appear. They are appearing out of ignorance. You are not aware that it's happening, it's taking place. Your consciousness is filled up with forms and things that need your consciousness to be able to exist. So if you are aware of that, you can remain empty of that. That's the true state that you are. You are empty. It's not something you have to achieve or to reach. You are empty. You are not filled up with manifestations of consciousness and awareness and forms that take place in your empty awareness. You are not filled up with all that. The whole universe is just appearing in your own consciousness. So the universe is depending on your existence of your consciousness. Without you, it cannot appear. Stay empty. That's the bliss that you already are. Happy, happy, happy. See the appearances on the empty screen of the computer. They can only appear if there is a screen. So they are dependent on the screen. Likewise, your appearances are depending on the screen of your, not computer, but awareness, your consciousness. If it is not appearing, then it stays empty. That's the bliss, to be empty of all that movements that are depending on your emptiness. Funny, huh? It is consciousness itself that receives the images of itself. Consciousness makes up movements that are empty of itself, because the movements in consciousness have no substance. So all that you see is empty. You are free. You are free of whatever is made up by the consciousness on the screen of your mind, on your consciousness. The mind is consciousness. Consciousness is mind. It is not matter. It has no substance. It is not formed as reality. It is an image. You see your own image and you suffer by that image. Well, stop it. See yourself empty. The bliss is blowing through this form. The bliss of reality, of beingness without all that is made up. You made it up yourself and you suffered by it. Now, come home. Okay? Formlessness is the truth, the true bliss of being. We keep on staring at that which is unreal, because we are afraid of that which is real. We know the unreal, and we don't know the real. So that frightens us. But that what's frightened isn't real itself. That's what is afraid. So start smiling and start laughing and let everything pass. It's just imagination. It's the consciousness that makes it up. The mind makes it up. It makes visible forms on the screen of consciousness, but they are not real. And we keep on looking at it. That's the only thing we know. If we are not looking, we see nothing, and when we see nothing, we don't exist. And that's frightening for that which does not exist, namely you as person. What a stupid game, but also funny and dramatic. But it is not real, it is not real, it doesn't even exist, it's only on the screen of consciousness that it is floating by. It has nothing from itself to support it. So we keep on staring at that which is not real. For we are so afraid of what is real. And that's our real self. We are that self. We are afraid of ourselves while we long for it. We are afraid of the reality. But the ego, the unreal imagination, is afraid of the reality, of the light of reality, which makes it disappear. So the unreal imagination is afraid, but as it isn't existing, the fear isn't existing neither. That's good to know. Who knows? The self. Happiness.